Welcome to our coven. Today we will be discussing the film The Witch.
And we are drinking thematically appropriate Boston Harbor tea.
It goes without saying, spoilers for this film. Go watch it, come back, watch this video.
I notoriously don't like horror movies. They're too scary for me.
I love horror movies.
And Katie loves them. So we decided for October...
Caroline was going to be super brave, and we would watch 3 horror movies starring 3 fantastic female characters.
It actually ended up being a really great experience for me. I had a good time. There was some scary. But I think Katie did a really good job knowing me and picking some really good
Caroline doesn't
movies.
like gore or like... You described it as when you feel, you have sympathy pain.
I get sympathy pain for seeing like actual body trauma on screen, even though like I know it's ketchup, but you know, they do such a good job. Too good.
So this movie was lauded last year when it came out for being a fresh face, a fresh voice on the horror scene. My problem with the ever self-narrowing horror genre is that it's like a sitcom, but instead of laughs, they're scares. And it's like every page has to have a jump scare or a sound scare or something. So this movie was different. It's a first film from a writer-director who comes from a costume design background. It was heavily researched using primary sources from that time period of just the beginnings of colonizing the East Coast of the United States.
For what I do know of horror, it's a rich period for a horror film because here were these people who basically were coming from a civilization.
But they were being persecuted out of it.
But then they show up on the shores of this completely unknown land with completely unknown, terrifying things, and they're all alone, and that just seems like a ripe setting for people to start dying one by one in scariest and mysterious circumstances.
And it totally, I think, does a really great job in the beginning of showing the religious fervor, showing this very, to reference Arthur Miller's, crucible-like, tight community that subsists because it stays close to itself, and the mob mentality that can easily come out of needing to protect the core.
It is so heavily researched and a lot of primary sources. The dialogue is taken directly from transcripts that were available from the time period. And it's so well done, so well designed that it actually makes the Crucible look like a Disneyland version of that time period. Like this looks real and that looks Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because that one was pretty well researched too.
But
so that being said,
we did not like this movie. Caroline had almost the exact same reaction I did the first time I watched it. The second time, I had it much less because I knew what was coming in the end. We're about to spoil the end of this movie for you.
Yeah, the ending was in so many glowing reviews of why this is a great movie. And so I actually had a lot of hope for it. I mean, when she described it to me, I'm a history buff, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is going to be perfect for me to watch. And then...
Because look, like the history of witches in America is about women who are ostracized. It's about non-compliant women. It's about women who are too old or too sexy or too connected to their sexuality or too independent, or they're just outside of the norm and they get vilified and were occasionally literally murdered for that.
Witchcraft trials and executions were epidemic.
Yeah.
And so, okay, to spoil this movie, which we've been threatening to do, there is a witch.
Yeah, and
there's a witch.
The main character, Thomasin, becomes a witch at the end.
It's just so disappointing that the iconography and character of the witch and the way witchcraft is presented in the film is so pedestrian. The
problem with, I think, the history in this film is that it's very myopic.
It's narrow focus.
Very narrow. The history done here doesn't recognize that for many periods of history, the history that we have, the primary resources, the textual documents, secondhand accounts, are really limited in their scope. We don't have the diary of a 14-year-old girl who joined a group of women that like ran away to the woods. Like I'm not an expert on this period in history, but like there are certain accounts and certain voices that are often erased and silenced in the period of collecting. The
And
process of collecting
especially
history.
when your avowed goal is to go out and find the transcripts of witch trials. You are listening to people who believe in witchcraft and taking their like words at face value, and then to then create a witch that differs in no way
It's just
from that.
they think it's this thing, and then it's this thing.
Because, like, here's the problem I have with this movie. You're immersed from the very beginning in how limiting, how superstitious, how patriarchal, how
Oppressive
stifling
in a way.
and oppressive this community is. And so you, like, modern 2016 audiences are automatically going to be, like, chafing at that
Yeah.
and wanting for a freedom from that, which is what the witch provides.
Yes.
So, like, I'm rooting for the witch at the very beginning.
Yes.
Because, like, the people are not great. And then to see the reality of the witches being so, like...
It's just exactly all of the bad things that we've heard about. They steal babies, they've made a covenant with the
them.
devil, and they
And
all
they dance
get
naked, covered in
together
blood.
and then fly. It's like, well, what else though?
Yeah.
Like, what's their perspective on it? That's what I'm missing. I get the dad's perspective on the witches. What's the witch's perspective on the witches?
Yeah, because, like, I mean, maybe this is, like, just not a thing horror movies do, but I really felt like if you were going to make me side with the witch from the beginning, at least make her interesting and
Yeah.
worth that.
I will say I do think a lot of horror movies do have you side with the monster because it helps you to disconnect with the people who will become bodies. And it also allows you to explore, like, who are these fringe people? These are societal monsters. Guillermo del Toro says you've got the anarchic horror movie, and then you have this kind of like moralizing horror movie that murders women who are sexual and all
Yeah,
that.
even though I'm not a horror person, I can tolerate and even enjoy horror movies that have depth to them. And I was really hoping that The Witch was going there about these kinds of like ostracized
Yes.
women.
That I want that movie so badly.
Yeah, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't that movie. So disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you said it. We want to read Thomason's account of this.
I mean, yeah. For a protagonist, I don't really feel like I'm in her head.
No, not at all.
It's not
at
really
all.
explored what she wants, like what she needs out of this world, except for the one scene where she's like, I miss windows that have glass in them. I'm like, yeah, that's
The
rough,
witches
man.
are not going to give you windows.
It's fucking rough.
So,
All right.
And I mean, she picks the witchcraft in the end because
Yeah.
she doesn't have any other
Yeah.
choice, but she does seem elated to be doing it.
Yeah.
Which is like a weird.
I want to know more.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to elect Thomason's mom because I don't think she should.
You know, I will say we didn't see very much of her that wasn't, grieving over the baby that was kidnapped. But I'm going to say that if we make her a stand-in for the matriarch women's of the time, that, like, if she had elected power, the witches maybe would not feel like they had to go to the woods.
She could at least be the comptroller, which means we've got an army of witches.
I think that's right.
That was
I think that's
obviously
right.
coming.
Yeah. Good.
So tell us what you guys think. Please comment, find us on Tumblr or Twitter and let us know because we'd love to hear more and more opinions.